Greetings. I've recently made a few videos about the European Union. The first one I made was about why the low birth rates in the European Union were probably why the EU officials actually secretly wanted the migrant crisis to happen, because they need to continue with economic growth and the workforce is getting older and they can't do that, which that gets into a lot of other issues. I also made one about the European Union where I went through one of its future policy documents where it basically stated that it wants to move into Northern and Central Africa, Central Asia, and Latin America. In other words, it wants a global empire. I also made one about the Article 13 where they're going to be messing with copyright protection on the internet if it finally passes, and it's going to screw a bunch of things up. Basically, the conclusion from these things is that the European Union is a really shitty organization that needs to disappear. But there's another one that came out, and you probably have not heard about it, and it may lead to another migrant crisis. If you look, it's called the Marrakesh Political Declaration, and if you look at some of the countries, so Austria and Belgium, so European countries, Central African Republic, Chad, Congo, African countries, this was a meeting, or the result of a meeting that was held on May 2nd, 2018 in the Kingdom of Morocco. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire document. It's only about 8 pages. I'm not going to read it all. I'll leave a link to it in the description so that you can read it if you wish. But when you look towards the beginning, it talks about increased attention to the fight against xenophobia, racism, and discrimination. The partners will undertake efforts to combat these phenomena and to promote a balanced narrative on migration and diasporas based on facts and highlighting their positive contribution to the development of societies in countries of origin, transit, and destination. So I read that to mean that they're probably going to try to expand hate speech law enforcement or definitions, things like that. They're going to say, oh, you can't talk about or you can't grumble about these people who we've shipped to your country who don't fit in and don't share the same culture. If you do that, we're going to throw you in the clank because this screws with our plans. Coming to Objective 3, you see, promote regular migration and mobility, especially of young people and women, between Europe and North, West, and Central Africa and within these regions. So they basically want like the open border scheme, kind of like is in the European Union, except they want it to go all the way down to Central Africa. I don't have to tell you why this is a terrible idea, but apparently the European Union doesn't think it's a terrible idea. And you notice that it's saying, especially of young people and women, so the inclusion of women, that's some social justice or cultural Marxist shit that the European Union is pushing. But the young people, these are the people who you get cheap labor from, and the European Union needs a lot of cheap labor because its workforce is aging. People aren't having as many kids for a number of various reasons. And if you remember the xenophobia part that they said they're going to fight, if you look down here at Action 7, in accordance with the national legislative frameworks, promote projects which aim to strengthen the portability of the rights and social protection of regular migrants and their families. So combine that with the xenophobia statement, and I really do think that the European Union is going to be pushing for more hate speech. That's just my speculation. That's not a cold hard fact, but it just seems to be the road that they're going down. Now, the promoting regular migration and mobility, that is a pretty hard statement of what they want. And it is consistent both with the idea that the European Union is worried about its low birth rates and its ability to continue with economic growth, and with the idea that the European Union wants to move down into Central Africa as well as other places in an effort to build a global empire. Now, I don't think that the European Union is going to be around long enough, at least not in its current form, to actually build and maintain a global empire. I just don't see it happening. It's already weeble wobbling and is ready to fall over with all of the member states pissed off about, its proposal that they have a common EU budget that EU member states contribute to, and the migration crisis. I mean, you've already got the what are they, the Visegrad 4 bitching and yelling about the migrants and not doing what the European Union says, and Italy turning away migrant ships, saying, nah, fuck off, we're full. I mean, with all of these things going on, and then here you have the European Union last month deciding that this is a good idea. It's not a good idea. I think it's actually going to bring the European Union down. I think it'll help contribute to people pushing back against the EU so hard that it either has to become less powerful or just fall apart. So I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that this is going to lead to another migrant crisis in the meantime? It's entirely possible and maybe even likely, in my opinion, that it will lead to another, quote unquote crisis. I think the European Union actually wants all of these people up here, and it's not a crisis to the Eurocrats in Brussels. But anyways, I bet you had never heard of this document. I bet it was done under the radar. And for those of you in Europe, be on the lookout for this, because your cultural heritage is being brought under threat so that a bunch of globalist cunts can have their power. Have a nice day.